Sunn with Kannon. One of the last new releases we'll probably be talking about here in 2015. Sunn as a band is enigmatic. Drone might seem simple enough, but if you listen to a Sunn record, you'll realize that it really isn't. Now this album, Kannon, is considered to be light drone. And if you consider the last couple of projects that Sunn have been associated with, including great splits with groups such as Boris and Oliver, then there's a lot to be excited about. Monuments and Dimensions, the last album that is official studio proper from Sunn, was regarded as a masterpiece by many people. Kannon may not share that fate, and there's a couple different reasons why that is the case. This is a 3-track affair. It clocks in at only about 33 minutes in length, so you're not actually gaining a lot of material here. The 3 tracks are essentially all just movements of Kannon. Kannon 1, Kannon 2, and Kannon 3. And really, for a group like Sunn, naming structures for songs and doing things like this, not all that uncommon. What I really do like about this album is the fact that even though it does have some shortcomings that we're about to get into, it still maintains a certain charm level where it's a good listen. I really enjoy the way that this album progresses, even if some folks don't. Simply put, because the bends and the ripples that you're getting remind me a little bit of the slow progression of an Earth song from this new age that they are in. And it almost is seeming like Sunn themselves are sort of going through a metamorphosis process. Whether or not they've truly done the same album twice, it really doesn't matter. This album, though, what it lacks, what it doesn't do very well, it's one that gets to the point a little bit too quickly. It's one that gets to the hypnosis a little too fast. There are building blocks to these songs that we've heard in Sunn albums past. And this is one where the building blocks feel a little bit, well, the quality feels a little bit smaller, and thus it affects the quantity. So instead of having the 7 or 8 stories worth of blocks that assemble the big office building of a Sunn song, you now have a couple of toy blocks to assemble a tower that perhaps a 5-year-old has made. Might seem like an unfair assessment, but it's true. We get the main idea very quickly, and we get there very fast, and we stay there for quite some time. And that's true of all 3 of these movements. The vocals on this really showcase, for those of you who just know Attila from Mayhem, you're going to learn something with this album. You're going to learn something with really any Sunn album that has been released in the past, say, 10 years. You're going to learn that he's an extremely talented man that has a very deep, almost shamanic vocal range, and he's not afraid to use it. He's quite good. He feels a little buried here. He feels a little buried underneath all of this, almost as though he is meant to be in the background and this music, this wall of noise, is meant to circle around you. And you're just meant to hear his voice above a faint whisper. In fact, it's a little higher than that, but still, it's meant to be to that level and to that effect where your brain almost feels like it's being tricked. But you're not sure if you're actually hearing somebody else or if this is your own head creating this extra layer of sound. Track 2 actually starts off, Kannon 2, so simply with just a simple break of feedback and just a rip of single guitar. But then it eventually does build, but again, builds to the point extremely quickly and stays there and doesn't do much aside from that. Kannon 3 will bring forth controversy. It'll bring forth controversy to people who have done their homework, to people who are obsessed with Sunn, because those are the folks that may complain about the fact that this song is actually not new. There's a live album that they had released, Sunn that is, a couple of years ago. Don Kripke, I think. I'm probably fucking that up. fun. Another thing for people to fucking complain about. Oh, that actually it appeared on. It was an 18-minute long track. It was live. And it was pretty raw. It had a lot of instruments on it as well. Percussive. And then your standard Sunn classics. This one's a little bit more stripped down. This one doesn't have nearly as much to offer whenever it comes to instrumental expansion. It's another song that gets to the point, stays there for a while, and really the highlight is Attila's swirling voice around you. It's almost like it's circling it. It's spiraling. The void surrounds your skull as you're listening to this. This is going to create controversy because in many of these folks' minds, they'll think that they've actually gotten just 22 minutes of new Sunn material. Might be true. Might be false. It's a different version. In my opinion, even though some people feel that the live version is better, this one's cleaner. And cleanliness for some folks is something that's very important. Myself, they're both pretty good. This is an album that just feels like it's missing something. Whether it be the short run time, whether it be the fact that it feels like an album that remains more static than it should. Something here just doesn't quite have the same charm as a Monoliths and Dimensions did. Now obviously we know why it won't share the charm of the split projects, considering you have a wealth of individuals, different input, different styles kind of coming together in order to craft that. But even comparing this to Sunn's solo albums or main discography, this is one that just feels like there's a little something missing. Now granted, they did just say it's light drone. It's light. So it's almost like them taking their Earth right-hand turn into something a little bit different for the second portion of their career. Don't get me wrong. I know this is something that might piss some people off. But Sunn kind of likes Earth a lot. And it wouldn't surprise me very much if Sunn decided to continue on this path. This path is kind of serene. This path does have a little bit of chill behind it. Sunn and chill, imagine that. It also still has that swirl of madness. It still contains all of the trademarks. It's just done in a little bit softer volume. And it's just done with a little less movement. But even with that said, this album just feels kind of average. It's not a bland affair, but it's not terrific. It doesn't hit you the same way as some of their albums in the past. This is one that may require some warming up to. But for right now, it's a 78 out of 100. But I want to know what you guys think about Kannon. I almost said Ganon. Legend of Zelda, where Link O has to face Ganon O to save the Triforce and eat some Cheerios. Yeah. That was the worst joke in humanity. But it might not be a joke. That type of shit sells. What do you think about this album? Let me know in the comments. I'll talk to you later.